Hi guys, Chris here. I am back with another video tutorial. I am still working on my Grogu scarf pattern, and I got to the point where I am doing a simple two-color grid. So I wanted to go over what my two-color grids look like as you're doing them in your work. Let me start off this video by saying, like I always do, that this is how I crochet. It in no way represents the entire crochet community. We are all artists, and we will develop our very own specific ways of creating. However, there are some basic standards in our community, and that's what I'm here to teach you today. That being said, I'm located in the southern United States, and I will be speaking in U.S. standard crochet terms. So anything that I say will not be in European speak. It will be in U.S. crochet terms. So I put this much of my grid pattern in the frame. I finished this grid. I worked along the center part and transitioned my colors over into this color here on the pattern. I completed rows 175, which is a start here. This is a directional. Every time you are going to do something, this is lettering. So it's not absolutely necessary that you do this, but please just follow the directions like that the arrows go. It is so much easier to do that. You can technically do it backwards, but it's to save you complication and headache and trying to work things out. That's why you buy the pattern, so you don't have to work that out. That's what I'm here to do. So this pattern, basically the grid says, and by the way, I do a big block here that is 5 by 5. I think in terms of fives as I crochet. If I'm doing single crochets, I will do 1 2 3 4 5, stop, 1 2 3 4 5, stop, 1 2 3 4 5. I know maybe that doesn't make sense to you. I hope it does make sense. My patterns, I like to use multiples of 5 at the beginning of a row. If I'm gonna stop, I will stop on stitch 5. That way I don't have to go back and count, or if I'm going to the middle of the row, I will know it will be a multiple of 5 that I stopped on, in case, you know, I get kind of crazy and I count wrong and I get like the number 13. I'll go, no, that is not right. It is not 13. It's going to be 15. So I'm getting just a little bit off topic, but that is why I do a 5 by 5 grid. I make all of my grids by hand. I do not use the online generators. They leave a lot of little tidbits like this out. And you know, sometimes I make bigger grids for my things, sometimes I make smaller grids for my things. I am going to need to put in here on all of my patterns what row count you are on, that kind of thing. I also, you can't see it because it's out of frame, I also have like a little legend that's up here a little ways that, you know, tells you your colors, that kind of thing. I have a start here spot and an end here spot. So what I have done so far is I have gone with my green color that corresponds here across and back for the first 3 rows. So I have completed row 175, row 176, and row 177. Now, a lot of people will print these grids out, and that's kind of nice to do if you like to mark things off manually. That is okay. I started out doing things that way. I don't really do it that way now. I just print my patterns out so that I can make any corrections as I'm working through the graph. But if you have a marker and you just want to go through and let's say, okay, well, we have done row 175. We have going this way done row 176. This will help you to remember which row you are on. I tend to put arrows at least every 5 rows up so you will remember which direction you're supposed to be going, so you don't have to go all the way back down maybe 15 or 20 rows and kind of look and see which direction you're supposed to be going. I like to kind of leave that there so that you can see every few rows that you are going the right direction, that you are on the right track, so that if you do have to frog, you don't have to frog very far. I want people to enjoy my patterns and find them easy and fun and rewarding. I do not want you to have to frog the whole project, so I try to make it as simple as possible. So row 175, we went this way. Row 176, we went this way. Row 177, I have gone this way. So on row 178, I am going to be going in this direction here. And so far, what I have is, so you can count 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 of the green stitches that you are going to do first. I've completed 7, so let's make sure that I didn't pull any out while I was talking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7, and we're going to complete this 8th stitch. And the reason I left this off is important because you actually do not pull all the way through the stitch when you are going to switch to your next color. So to do the 8th stitch, you're just going to pull it up like this, and that counts as number 8 on your grid here, because when you change to your next color, just kind of hook it in there like that. Everybody does this differently. Some people just leave this hanging in there and they just, leave a great big tail and then they weave it in later. I am completely crazy and think that these things are going to work themselves out. It just, it drives me crazy. I have had magic knots come out on my work, and I am just, I'm one of those people that definitely pulls any knots really tight to make sure that it's in there. But sometimes I use really bouncy, lovely, squishy yarns, and it came out. And that's why it came out, because it was such a good, squishy, fun, amazing yarn. I lost my knot, so I had to go back in and fix that later. So I have this, I will tie that, even though as you work a few single crochets across here, you are basically making a knot, but I like to do both because I am a crazy person. You do not have to do that. This is just the way that I do things, and I'm going to try to keep this pointed toward you. So you can see that when we pulled this new color through, the 2 loops that were on your hook for the single crochet, they lay over so that your 8th stitch here looks clean. And this is the beginning actually of your 9th stitch. So that's why we finish out with the next color. So in this next color, I have 5, 7, 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I am going this way to do. So let me find my little tail back here. So I'm going to do that kind of while I'm talking to you. And hopefully I can keep my hands in the frame. I forget what I'm doing sometimes, and I just start talking and my hands go out of frame. And hopefully I won't do that. So I just crochet right over top of this next color. When we've got 2 colors, I just kind of work them back and forth through there. I do not go all the way to the edge, and I will show you what I actually do to maximize the usage of my yarn. If you've watched my videos, you will know that I am a crazy person about how much yarn I use. I do not like to waste yarn by pulling it through a project where it does not need to be. So I will maximize the use of my colors. And we're going to show you that right now, actually. So we had 9 stitches to do. So let's count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're just going to do the first half of that stitch. And then I kind of bring this color forward and out of the way, complete that 9th stitch by starting with the color that we are moving to. Now, here's kind of the tricky part, and this is something that if you have done a lot of graph patterns, you already know this, so you can just skip ahead. But if you haven't, and sometimes it is just good to go over it anyways, you're going to look ahead to what you're going to be doing on the next row. So on the next row, you are going to have this color over 1 in this direction. And this arrow tells you that you are going to be going that way down your pattern. So what I like to do is I like to just stitch this thread in for that 1 stitch. And instead of pulling it all the way through the end of my project, going up with it, coming all the way back down until I need it, I pull it out of the way now. So that way, I'm just going to pull it up directly from this stitch instead of going back and forth. So let's see how many stitches we have at the end of the row. Here we have 8 green stitches. I've already done 1. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And of course, the end of your row, you just chain 1 and you turn around. And since you pulled that color to the front here when it was this way, it's going to be all nice and lovely and ready for you to grab as you come back down your row in this direction. So if you are going through and marking, you can mark that this row, I'm sorry, my marker is getting dead. So we went in this direction for that row. And now we are following this arrow and going this way. So we've got 5, 7 stitches before we switch colors. And I'm going to go a few more rows just so it's very clear what I'm doing. So let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, but you're not going to complete it because you will be switching to this next color. So pull that on through to complete the stitch. And you are going to need your green color on the other side over here. So we're going to stitch it through the middle of our lettering. So let's see how many we have. So we've got 3 and 5 is 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 11 stitches. And make sure as you are flipping your project back and forth, you're turning your work, that you are not tangling these yarns up down here. If anything is going to be twisted, you want it to be twisted right up here by your work so that it can be just hang out in your work a little bit twisted. And it's really not going to be that. It'll feel like it's twisted there, but it's not. That's actually keeping it straight. And that's, just trust me, that is where you want any overlap of your yarns to be. So we're at our last stitch on that color. And now, instead of, remember when we went this way, I stitched this color in. Here, let me let me pull this. Again, this is being twisted at my work. Just pull that through. And let me go back to what I was saying now that we've got that stitch completed. Where this, we had to go over one because I was making another stitch this way. This one here, our next row is directly, the next color is directly on top of this one. So instead of stitching this in for one more stitch, we're just going to pull it to the front and out of the way and hang on to it until we get to our next row. And I apologize if this video is getting a little bit long. I really struggled with this to begin with, and I really wish I would have had a video that got wordy for me to kind of follow along. And if you did buy my pattern for this Grogu scarf, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. This is literally the only way that I'm making money right now, so I appreciate you so much. You are helping me to be able to buy groceries right now. COVID has just wrecked my finances. But anyways, enough about that. So now we are on row 180. I know that's a little bit blurry. I'm gonna have to fix that. But anyways, so we've got on the green 7 stitches, and I've already completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and halfway through that 7th stitch, grab this lighter color, pull it through. On this part, I don't know if you can really see what's going on with my stitches there. You will want to just kind of snug that down and make sure that after you do this for a while, you're not going to have the little yarn poking through here, because you'll have a tension on your non-working yarn as you're going across. But at first, as you're going through these, you may want to take your non-working yarn. So if you're using this cream and this is going through it, you may want to, at the end of your cream spot, just kind of take it and tug a little bit on it to make sure that it is not gonna get too wobbly and loose through here and start poking through like all of your stitches. And let's go back to our graph. We have 2 of these color stitches. So there's 1, and there's the other half. And I'm bringing this directly to the front, because on our next row, it's going to go directly up. It's not this way and it's not that way. Just going to complete that stitch there. And we have 5, 10, 15, 16 more stitches to finish this row out. I'm going to finish this row out here, and then I will have just a couple more little tips and tricks for you on these graph patterns, and then we'll cut this video off. If you have any questions for me after this video is over that I didn't answer in the video, please ask me in the comments, and I will absolutely get back to you. I want everybody who has purchased my patterns to have a very easy time completing them. And if you haven't purchased my patterns, if you're just making your own and you're trying to work a graph for the first time, I love crochet and I want everybody to have a great time with it and have as good of a time with it as I do. So I'm just going to show you that we are recreating this graph here Exactly. And that is what a completed graph looks like. I'm going to go ahead and mark this line off here because that's the one that I finished. Now printing them out is nice because if you do stop, if you go into your next row for first 5 stitches, you can just kind of mark it right there and you can know exactly which way you're going and which one you stop on. Now there is one more thing that I'd like to talk about. If, say, you have, and this is, like I said, this is just a 2-color here, but you can get into doing graphs with more than 1 colors, and then you get into where you pretty much need to use bobbins. That will make things a lot easier for you. But for 2 colors, let's say that this little box right here on this row, for whatever reason, was going to be the same color as this. You literally, that is one of the worst things about creating graph patterns to me, because what you're gonna do is you're just gonna, go this far into a stitch, pull up your next color, then go that far into your next stitch and then pull up the next color. So you don't get to even complete 1 stitch at a time. You're basically just working a half stitch, half stitch here, just 2 stitches. And I hope that makes sense. Anyways, I think I covered everything. This is my longest video to date. So if you have any questions, please ask. This right here, you can see where I went up the side of my pattern. I carried yarn up the side of this. That is in another video if you want to see how I carry my yarn to make it all nice and even and not bunched up there. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you have a great day and happy crochet.